Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today our guest is Vanessa Peters. Thanks for being on the show, Vanessa.
Thanks for having me, Whitney.
Yeah, honored to have you on the show. Vanessa is the founder of VMD Investing and has been investing in real estate for 10 years in single-family homes, commercial retail, apartment communities, self-storage, and manufactured home parks. She has invested in over 2,500 units across 7 properties and 3 funds. She's passionate about helping busy professionals build wealth through passive, income-producing real estate that provides attractive returns and a proven roadmap to financial freedom. She earned her medical degree at the University of Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and has a thriving full-time practice in Escondido, California, and is Chief Physician Officer for her medical group. Vanessa, thanks again for being on the show. I'm honored to have you as a guest. Give the listeners a little more about who you are and just what your focus is in real estate right now.
Great. Thanks, Whitney. Honored to be a guest here. I became involved in real estate accidentally in 2007. I was in early 2007. I unfortunately was going through a divorce at that time. And I decided at the time, it seemed like a good idea, that I would give my ex-husband my 401k and I would get the house. So this was in Southern California as well. And our house was worth quite a bit, as everybody's was. There was a lot of appreciation in the market at the time. I was fairly highly leveraged as well. Unfortunately, by the time we made that switch, it was in October of 2007, and the market had already started to slide. It was a little too late for me to do anything about it, and then within 6 months, the house was completely underwater, and I had to move out, for other reasons, but I rented the home out. But it was worth about $250, and I had $420 on the mortgage. So I became an accidental landlord. I obviously couldn't sell it at that point, and had to basically feed it. I thought it would turn around, and unfortunately it just got worse and worse. But in 2012, after having to pay $1,000 a month into this because the rent wouldn't cover the mortgage, I did have to let it go on a short sale. So that was humiliating and hard on my credit. But that was my sort of first foray into being a landlord. Fortunately, though, during that time, a realtor friend of mine had suggested that I buy a property. And so in Riverside County, just north of San Diego, I did buy a single family home in 2008. And so that was great. I wish I had done 10 of them, but hindsight is 2020. I didn't know what was going on with the market because it actually kept going down. I purchased fairly early in the downturn. Also started having, kids and got really busy. Wasn't really thinking about real estate. I did want to, spend lots of time with my family and not work as hard. I was thinking about when I would retire. I was talking to my financial advisor. And I think when I was probably 35 or 36, I asked him, hey, when can I retire and how much do I need? And, I make pretty good money and I'm saving. And he said, the number he told me just kind of blew me away. He said, well, you'll need $4 or $5 million to retire. And looking at what I had already saved and where I was at, especially having to start over at 33, I was pretty disappointed. I realized I could max out all my tax deferred vehicles. I could save as much as I could. And doing the numbers, I was like, I'm not sure how this is going to work. So, but I still did it. I was very frugal, even maybe a little bit too frugal, if you ask my family. And 7 years later, I looked at the balance of my bank accounts and I thought, this is never going to work. I'm now in my 40s and I don't see how I'll be reaching those numbers in the next 15 years. I felt like I was on a hamster wheel, paying lots in taxes. Even though I wasn't spending much, the saving wasn't working. It was almost like I was just saving linearly. Things weren't, the compound interest, the magic of compound interest wasn't working for me. But last year, about a year ago, I was out with my family on vacation. And it was this beautiful, idyllic setting. And I just realized how much fun I was having with them. And it made me come to a little bit of an epiphany that I was working way too hard and I needed to spend more time with my family while my son was young. And while my husband had told me I worked too much, I kind of was like, well, everybody works this much. This is normal. This is just how it is. I'm not working 80-hour weeks, but I realized that I need to do something. And I realized that I'm trading my time for money. And that just isn't the way to do it. There has to be a better way. And I remembered, it was almost like I remembered, oh yeah, real estate. I started looking into it again and dove deep into real estate, joined Bigger Pockets. That's where I started and learned, went to some meetups, went down the rabbit hole, basically, of RE investing. I chose the red pill, like from the Matrix. I couldn't, once you open your eyes to what's out there and the ability to make wealth in other ways, you just can't go back. So I knew that there was a way that I could turn things around and start driving the bus instead of being on the hamster wheel. So that's what led me to syndication. I did look at buying other single family homes. Obviously, in California, that's not going to work. I looked at buying out of state homes. I realized that I didn't want the risk of owning a single family home out of state. I don't have time to be managing it and flying out there or whatever, and understanding that a single family home or a small multifamily, just the risk of losing money when there weren't tenants was too high. So when I was on Bigger Pockets, I was seeing this word syndication, and I was like, what is that? So I did some research, started doing some reading, contacted a few people that I met, and it was kind of like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. This is the perfect investment for me. And I started investing as much as I could in it. After doing this for about 6 months, I was invited to join a team of people who were raising capital. And I felt like that was a way I could be involved in real estate, which I love, but I don't have the time to dedicate to find deals and things like that. But what I can do is I can vet operators and deals and invest my own money, as well as teach my colleagues, other professionals, another way that they can also break the time money equation and start building up their passive income. So that's my niche of helping other accredited investors connect to the experienced operators.
It's awesome. I feel like your story resonates with probably a lot of listeners, and I know it does with me as well. And I feel like, like we're like almost brainwashed the way we're, the way you're raised, and you think, okay, we get this career, and you get a good job, and your just retirement's kind of set, right? It's going to happen one day. But then thankfully, you talk to somebody and he kind of helped open your eyes to, wait a minute, unless you make some big changes, it's not going to happen the way you think it's going to happen.
Exactly.
But thankfully, you took action, right? I mean, you did something, you open, your eyes were open to this reality, and you made some things happen. Just you talking about, your own vacation, you realize you want to spend more time with family, and just how valuable that is. And just the fact that, wait a minute, maybe everyone doesn't work this many hours. I know that's a struggle I work with as well. It's just balancing that. And, having to block time with family just because I get too consumed with trying to get everything done, but, realize you were trading, the time for money and so why, what made you just settle on, the syndication business and really pursuing that as opposed to, many other types of investing, that you could have done?
Right. In terms of that choice within real estate, I really found that I love the idea of leveraging other people's efforts. I don't want to be an expert in flipping a home or underwriting a home. And the idea of renovating something and having a list of all the capital improvements that need to be done just really overwhelms me. I don't know how to work Excel. It's just not my niche. I don't know how to do that. I could learn, but I'm a big fan of the highest and best use of your time. So what am I good at? And I'll stick with that. I love real estate, but I understand my limitations, and trained as a doctor, I should be focused on doing what I do best, which is I educate patients a lot. So that naturally transitions to educating other people about this. So, I mean, I'm leveraging other people's efforts. The tax benefits are really the same. You get all the benefits of cost segregation, depreciation. So you're doing a lot of the benefits of real estate without having to do all the work. you don't have control, and some people don't like that. But in my experience, a lot of the professionals don't want a lot of control. You're trading some control for less risk, because when you're a limited partner in a syndication, you're not putting yourself out there. You're not at risk for your assets and things like that. So I feel like it's the path to financial freedom. The definition of which I would say is knowing that you can live without working. You may continue to work, but you might work less, but it's almost that you enjoy your work more because you don't have to be there.
You said so many things there that's so good. The highest and best use of your time, understanding your limitations, and even talking about, like you use the skills that you already had, and transitions that into this real estate business, and so that's the part of the business you can focus on, the educating and the helping other people that are in your shoes, that you obviously are going to relate to very well, these busy professionals, and you talk about them not having a lot of control. Well, they're focused on their day jobs, right? You're focused, obviously, if you're a doctor, I mean, you got to be on top of your game, right? And you're managing so many people in that practice. Well, or other busy professionals that you're educating about real estate. Well, they don't have time to go, try to pick a market and try to learn about multifamily real estate and try, all the details of underwriting and trying to make sure that they can operate this syndication business over here. But the amazing thing is that you can educate them and they can invest and own real estate and enjoy those benefits, just like you were talking about. But let's move into how you specifically got started and raising capital and just some of those conversations. How did you get over that fear of talking to investors? Everybody getting started in this business, they're worried about those first conversations with investors, and how did you get over that?
Yeah, good question. I got involved because I have a passion for real estate. I even enjoy talking to all my patients about where they live. I don't know. I've always enjoyed real estate. When I was a kid on vacation, I would always be checking out the local office, window shopping, the real estate listings in that particular city. So I was happy to get involved in a way that would allow me to talk to other people. It's true, though, that in terms of speaking with other investors and educating them, it's hard because in medicine, we don't sell anything. But we do. So we don't sell anything monetarily, but we're selling things all day long. We are selling a treatment plan. We're selling a lifestyle change. We're selling people on getting a preventive thing done, like a colonoscopy. I sell colonoscopies all day long because nobody wants to do them. And I have to convince people to do those things that they don't want to do and tell them why and that it's good for them. So it's a transition to try and almost sell people on an investment, because in truth, there's a benefit for me. And that was hard for me to get over. I did not want to feel like I was selling people something, but it was the change that I found was helpful is that I realized that I'm not selling people something, I'm helping them come to the opportunity to have something that will help them. And whether they do or don't join me, at least I can tell them about the options, because if I hadn't found out about it, then I would be in a completely different place right now.
Are you a new or experienced investor wanting to learn how to have a successful syndication business? Learn from the nation's leading syndication expert, my friend, Vinny Smile Chopra. He has created a multifamily academy where you will learn everything about deal analyzing to selecting emerging markets, managing assets, and much more. In the Academy, you'll find over 500 lectures and templates to help you run a successful syndication business. Your membership also gives you access to Vinny every Wednesday through masterminding and coaching calls. Vinny came to the U.S. with only $7 and now is a CEO of 5 companies, acquiring and managing a portfolio of more than 3,500 units. He's completed 26 successful syndications ranging from 50 to 500 units and created a portfolio valued over $200 million in commercial real estate. He built the Academy to teach and mentor investors like you to succeed. To learn more about the Multifamily Academy, text LEARN, L-E-A-R-N, to 474747 or call his team at 925-766-3518. I like that. You're providing an opportunity, right? I mean, you're providing an opportunity for them. You're not like asking for money. Everybody says, "Oh, I don't want to ask for money," but it's a mindset change, right? I mean, you have this opportunity, and where can they go and invest in something as stable, as multifamily real estate. But yeah, so I guess keep going through that process. Just how did that happen? How did you grow in that the capital raising side, and from then to where you are now?
Well, I started by speaking with people that were close to me, like most people do. My friends and family. Started working on a website and a blog and getting coaching. Basically, you have to have a mentor. So this space is smaller than you'd think, and going to a couple of conferences and seeing the same people and talking to people who are in your shoes is the best thing. And that's what I've enjoyed the most, actually, about becoming involved in syndication, is meeting all these great people. I've realized that I was living in a little bubble of my world, and my bubble was my family, my friends, and my work. But there's so much more out there, and the people in the multifamily space and other light commercial spaces have been so welcoming and friendly, and it really wasn't what I expected at all. And that's been one of the greatest benefits, is knowing that this isn't really a solo venture. It's a team sport, and you need to have friends in the business. It's a relationship business, and everybody's heard that before, but you have to be working with people that you trust and that have good experience and a good track record.
So how did you? There's so many mentors in this space, right? There's so many people that offer coaching, and so how did you choose your mentor? Because I get that question a lot. Where people will call and they'll ask if I know this person or know of these numerous mentors. And you don't have to say who they are, but just like, how did you? Out of all these people that are in the space that offer coaching, how did you choose yours? What was important, or the key factor?
Right. Well, I wasn't really looking for a mentor or a coach. What happened was I was investing passively with him, and then he suggested that I speak with someone else who was on a team, because he knew that I did love real estate. After our initial meeting, I had explained to him how I was trying to invest in single families and condos. So since I had already invested with him, I had done my due diligence on him, including a full-on criminal background check and checking for SEC violations and things like that. So I knew that I could trust him. And after speaking to another doctor on the team, I realized that this would be a good fit for me. And being that I didn't have a lot of time, it was a much more relaxed coaching plan than others I've heard of, where it's pretty intense and you're expected to perform at a certain level. I didn't want that pressure.
Yeah, no.
So it fit for me.
Yeah. So you already knew him. You already had a relationship there of some kind. So you did a background check. That's awesome. Which if you're going to invest with somebody passively, you should do. But you already had some of that info. You already had some inside information kind of before you decided to use him as a mentor as well. But so, talk about how you educate investors now. Obviously you have a niche, these the doctors and other people that you're in, you work with every day, but tell us, how do you educate them, and what does that look like?
Well, it usually starts out as a conversation with, they might ask what I've been up to, and I'll mention that I'm doing some real estate investing. And if they're interested in learning more, I can explain the process of what I went through to get to where I'm at in terms of syndication. And then they are usually like, well, what is that? That sounds kind of risky. And then I do a lot of explaining of the benefits of multifamily and how it did well in the last downturn. Most people want to know, is their money safe? Obviously. And I've noticed it's curious that if you mention the returns early in the conversation, it almost makes them more suspicious. If they're not familiar with the benefits of real estate, if you say something like 8% preferred return and an IRR that's over 15%, then they think that maybe there's something sketchy going on. So you have to be careful how you approach the subject, with all of the benefits, the tax, the paper losses, and the lack of active involvement and that kind of thing. If they're interested, then we can look at a closed deal at the next time that I talk to them.
That's such a crucial thing you just talked about there. I haven't had many people talk about how, if you mention those returns too fast, how it can make them more suspicious. I appreciate that. And just but going over some of the benefits but you talking about how, you just briefly put it out there, and then if they're interested, they're going to bring it back up. Right.
Right.
So what happens then, I guess, what are some common or maybe not so common questions or things that you help educate them about, and how much detail do you have to go in, before these people will invest with you?
Yeah, everybody's different. Some people will just get kind of a brief overview and they're like, this is great, I'm in. Other people do require you to sit down, and I've created a blog post with, I think it has 27 FAQs. So I prefer that they read that before we sit down. That saves a lot of time, because just the very basic questions of, well, what is an operator and what is a limited partner? What's the general partner? What are my risks? What are the tax benefits? There's so many questions. And so you really, for someone who's new to real estate, investing in this way, you need to go through everything. And so it can be quite a time-consuming process, but I enjoy it. And since I'm fairly new to the space, I enjoy that one-on-one time with the investors, and hope that they enjoy that, and then we'll recommend their friends. And once you have one step of credibility that, hey, my friend did this, and then you're more likely to get more investors that way.
I like that. I like the blog post idea as well. Like sending that to this potential investor before you all really have the big discussion about, or just answering their questions. So that helping educate them before you get into that conversation. But Vanessa, what's really been the hardest part for the syndication process for you so far?
Well, as a passive investor, it's been phenomenal. I'm putting my money on every deal so far, and I expect that to continue, especially as I get more and more passive returns. I find it to be I can sleep at night. That's the biggest thing. I feel that I've chosen good operators, and I'm comfortable with my choices. In terms of the business side of things, what I found the most difficult is really getting on social media. I was a little bit of a social media hermit. I didn't post. I didn't have a LinkedIn profile, or I did, but it wasn't active. I thought you only went on LinkedIn if you were looking for a job, and I have a job, so I didn't think I needed to be there in that space. Learning, I feel a bit of a dinosaur, learning LinkedIn and Facebook. I don't even have the other stuff. Twitter and Instagram and things like that. So that has been a little bit of a time suck for me to learn those things. And I'm not good about posting. I don't have access to them at work, so I can't even do it when I'm there, which is probably a good thing. That's why they don't have you on Facebook at work. You should be focusing on your work. So that's been tricky. I feel like the menial tasks of operating a website and emails and social media are something that are difficult for me, and I'm hoping to get a virtual assistant in the near future to help me with those things, so that I can, again, highest and best use of my own time.
I highly recommend getting a virtual assistant. So what's a way that you've recently improved your business that we could all apply to ours?
Well, it's still in the ramping up phase. I find that posting regularly for blog posts, that has been very helpful. It's good to get your voice out there, and instead of just posting on your own website, get posted on someone else's website that has more readership than you. For example, I was able to write a post that was put on a prominent medical website, and got hundreds of shares. And so that's a really good way to improve your visibility, because your little website probably isn't getting a whole lot of traffic when you first get started.
Great advice right there. Get your blog on other people's websites. It's kind of like being interviewed on other people's podcasts, right? Yeah, that's awesome. Great advice. And what's the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
I think a couple things. Partnering with experienced people, so operators, coaches, really important, and getting out of your comfort zone. So a quote I really like is, "A comfort zone is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there." So for me, my comfort zone is that I'm a bit of an introvert. So I'm great one-on-one with patients all day, but in a crowd at networking events, things like that, it's not in my comfort zone to be, going up proactively to people. But in doing so, I have really opened up a new world. And, again, getting out there in public and putting myself on social media has also been uncomfortable, but I feel like it's really a good step. And I feel like it's making me more successful.
Vanessa, how do you give back?
I have been working with a charity locally here in Escondido called Interfaith Community Services for many years. They focus primarily on helping homelessness in our community. So that involves a range of services. I have been donating for years, and I'm actually interviewing to be a board member at Interfaith here in the next few weeks. So that's exciting. I'm really hoping to be able to help them reduce homelessness in San Diego County.
Nice.
I'm also hoping to have a setup whereby per investment, there'll be something tangible provided back to Interfaith, whether that's a door for someone for so many months or a year or something like that.
Wow. Thank you for doing that. And, tell the listeners how they can learn more about you and possibly read your blog or see your website or get in touch with you in some way.
Absolutely. My website is vmdinvesting.com. And my email is vanessa@vmdinvesting.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Great. Vanessa, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you being on the show, appreciate the value you've provided to the listeners, and I also appreciate the listeners being with us today and every day. I hope you will go to LifeBridge Capital and connect with me, and also go to our Facebook group, the Real Estate Syndication Show, so we can all learn from experts like Vanessa and grow our business together. I hope you're sharing the show, and we will talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.